Okay, so Susie, you've had a very successful induction year with us, and I know that this practice has been very different than your teacher training, because you were in mainstream settings then, and obviously this has been very new to you, being in a special school setting, and you've worked very hard and you've come a long way during your induction year. So how have you found that your knowledge of your pupils has affected your understanding of their learning and your planning, and can you give us a little bit example of how you feel you've progressed in that area over the year?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that I'm beginning to learn more about them all of the time, but definitely this year I feel I've got more a more grasp of where they are and where they need to be, and therefore where I need to take them with different things. So this year I've put into place doing little pre-assessments at the beginning of each term. So then I know what they know about the topic already, so then we can plan for the term and work out what they know already. Now that I know what they know already, then I know where we need to go. So that's been good, that's been really useful for me, because the assumption that making an assumption that they know anything isn't useful. Yeah. So now I know exactly where to go. So then also I think being able to assess the pupils when they come in, so knowing a little bit more about teaching and having that bit more experience, I've been able to sort of do a bit of assessing of the children when they first come in, of their basic skills, things like reading and writing, because some of my class are quite fluent, they're individual readers, they can independently read anything you give them. They may not understand it, but they can. And then some children don't know the alphabet, so being able to assess that at the beginning, the first few weeks, I was able to sort of see what skills I needed to work on. So that was really helpful as well.
Did you find it quite tricky at first going into a class where the levels were so... There was a very large disparity in your class, isn't there, of the levels, so that must have been quite tricky for you to get used to and develop your understanding of that.
Like in the mainstream class I was in, there's always a bit of a gap, but this one seemed a little bit more, you know, I've only got 10 children, but then I've got children that are working their skills at like maybe year 1, reception sometimes, and then I've got children that are like working, especially in their maths, like, you know, year 6. So that's a big gap. So trying to work out how to differentiate between that and then still keep like a thread of understanding for the unit through there. I mean, luckily their thinking skills aren't that there's not such a big gap between their thinking skills. So that's useful in this class anyway. Yeah,
and so that's helped you when you're thinking about sort of the bigger picture and where you want to take those pupils. So how to then work through those series of lessons and what skills you're going to teach. You know, you can use those cross-curricular things then to underpin that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this year I think I've tried to be a bit more holistic in understanding the children, and where the kind of things I've been planning for them are across the AOLEs now, rather than just down one subject.
Yeah, and do you think as your understanding of the pupils' needs has changed, then that has affected the way that you have been planning? Because the needs of your class, although, for example, majority have a diagnosis of autism, their autism presents very differently, doesn't it? So you may have to think about your language, for example, in certain areas, and the questions you use, and that must have an impact then on that, those lessons.
I definitely think my questioning skills have become more robust over this year, and I've been able to sort of pinpoint where from those questions and be able to question them, know then where the gaps are really and where we need to go forward.
Yeah, and that's a skill in itself, isn't it? Learning where they are, what they know previously, and then building on those skills.
It's definitely experience has helped me with that.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, you've had a very successful induction year.
Thank you, I've enjoyed it.
Well done, thank you very much.